app store. So it is from where our traffic comes in, like the you say the customers are coming in. So it is an entry point. Our widget, as I told in the last session, that it can't be run as a standalone application. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is a gateway, an opening point through which the customer comes in, and
Yeah. Aman, I can answer
yeah.
this. So,
Okay.
see, Rakesh, we have developed this widget which it doesn't have like users by default, right? There's no Play Store, there's no Apple App Store where we can put the app to install for people. So, what is our traffic? It's actually our United Healthcare, which is a parent company for Optum, their members or their potential members. So, Shoppers portal is just one of the many portals which United Healthcare has, where a lot of people come to buy new insurance. So that's one source of traffic. Optum Behavioral Health, again, it's a Optum Group company, so that is another source. So anywhere users come on any of our digital property to, let's say, buy insurance, or if they're already a member, to pull their drugs or their doctors, or compare insurance rates, or just want to pull all their health records in one common place. There are a lot of digital portals we have like that, and this and in all those locations is potentially where we will integrate the widget. So we will always have a button or a hyperlink which will be the launch point, and after the payer is selected, or in the future we will have the payer selection on our screen, a user will be able to import their data. So there will be always a button or a link on many digital properties in future in United Healthcare and Optum, and the user will just have to click it. Flex data acquisition widget will launch, and the user will be able to navigate it. And the way we are solutioning it or implementing it is that we will not be having a customized implementation for each launch point. Our widget will be like entirely managed by the BFF concept, as Aman had explained in the last call, backend for front end, and nothing will be hard coded on the UI. Everything will be managed from the backend, so that irrespective of who is launching the widget, we can give a customized experience to the users. So it's very something like like your banking apps, or your a lot of your payroll apps. A lot of like you would have seen your salary slip. It's generated by Allsec, which is the payroll or pay slip processor, and it's used by Optum, it's used by Accenture, it's used by Cognizant, and they don't do specific customizations at front end. It's all driven by back end. So we are developing a generic product which can be used by anyone, and all the settings and all the configurations will be managed on the back end, irrespective of who is using the widget. So that's the concept. Go ahead, Aman. Yeah, got it. Thanks.
Okay. Rakesh, anything else you have in mind, like from the code level thing?
Yeah, code level is I'm able to understand much. So FIDA has seen code. So
Yes.
so we are integrating only shoppers, right? Currently, so we have different.
Right
We
now,
have any different
shop.
integrations? Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, we have only shoppers as an active integrated point. We also are integrated with OBH, but it is not productionized yet. Okay, and for them also the source code repo is same. So there is only one repo, and we update the configurations accordingly to create a persona for OVH, or some maybe requirement change, like a drop down should appear on the screen in case of OVH. Okay, the rest, the content on the screen, whatever you see is coming from the backend. So there is no hard coding. Okay, let me start sharing the screen and quickly jump into the code.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so last day I talked about in brief of these components: the launch component, the issuer selection component, finish import component, and error component. So error component is the fallback component. Any API goes bad or anything bad happens, kind of like unhappy path. So it will redirect to error component. Insurer selection is only our custom loading symbol. So there is no business logic applied here, just a CSS update. Main is our launch component and the finish import component. Launch component is the very first component. It starts when it is the default route when our application loads. Okay. Rest is the service. There we have only two services. So there is a widget service, there is an analytics service. I will show why we need to do this. So this is the core widget service where all the widget APIs are placed. Yeah. Any questions?
No.
Okay. Okay. So moving forward. So and second is the analytics service. So for shoppers, we have a special requirement that they want to track the click events of the UI. So for those for that thing, we have enabled the tracking thing. They gave us the custom HTML elements to attach in our page, and so once that is clicked, they and include what you say. There's a JS file getting included. Once that is enabled, whatever click we made, it will be an API call happening to record that event. So this is our so for that purpose only we have analytics service. So analytics service does nothing, just it gets the JSON data, means what on which element what value to apply is happening. So at what you can see API primary model. Yeah. So let me show you on page 1, that is the launch.json. So for close button, there is a DTM ID and DTM name. So these are custom tags that we need to attach on our UI. So I have opened this cross button. So this is the inspect element. You can see we have DTM ID same what is there in the JSON file and the DTM name. So we make an API call. It's just the API call our already existing asset folders. So you can see that launch.json is getting called from this. So one is the fire server ID. So because if you see the value here, it comprises of name. Let me show you for Humana. So it can be for Etna also. So that is the reason if I change the fire server ID from Humana to fire server ID 2, and then if I show you this, even in the network tab, let it just load. I think, yeah, launch ID may create a problem, but let's check. Let's check. Yeah, so launch ID created an event. So this was wrong. I need to launch it again with different launch ID. Let me take it 1301, and at the end, if I choose Etna fire server ID 2, okay, it's still giving me 500 except 500 internal server exception. Let me close and open a new tab. And let me what I change 1302 at the end with it now. Yeah, I think this time it will pass. Yeah. So if I see the launch.json and check the response, it will come for okay, it will come for Etna. Profile model. See import from Etna. And if I check here the cross button inspect element, this is the button. There is a DTM name. So this is Etna. So so we are calling from our asset folder only the JSON files for each phase, you can say, in the UI. So this is where the buttons and everything getting highlighted. So you can see that visitor profile import model, import from Humana consent. So this is for page one, all these info. Uh, we haven't created all these details by ourselves. We were given a document, an Excel sheet in which all the things were present. We just put it here. So that's the approach. And second thing I was talking about, the headings and etc. are coming from the backend. And on Friday I failed to show you all the custom values. Like you all can see that this is a hard coded value at the UI. The is the code base. The reason behind that is this. So these are the default values, okay, and these parameters will get updated on certain conditions only. So we have an assigned HTML contact. So header text, these things will get replaced once we receive the criteria values in the criteria index. Let me show you from where it is getting. So we will use the same terms and condition API. We will check for that. Get terms and condition API. Go to the response. Preview is okay. So there is an array coming in. This is the criteria content. So if we get more elements here, in case of OBH we will get those things, not for shoppers. So for OBH we will get till like 6, 7, 8, 9. Even those values will be present over here. So accordingly the UI will transform itself. So now how we will get to know all this? So there is a mapping sheet created in the past for mapping each values of the screen to criteria index. So this is the criteria index we are following, and accordingly if these criteria index exist or the value comes in the response, then only the value will get replaced than the default value. Okay. So, and this is the finish import component, that is the second component, and our whole widget, like a happy path, completes on this component only. So if you see, if I click on this import from Etna, there's a page will open on this, new tab will open, and then we will start checking the status. So this status is an infinite loop. It's an infinite loop calling the API periodically one by one and checking for the status. So once if I put like everything here, the values, I do not have the login for Etna. I will go with the Humana one, but it's fine. So it will just do its up, and once the status reach to a stopping case, there are 3 stopping case in the code. So if you go to finish import, and there is on the top there is an array, stopping case. So when these stopping cases are achieved, like any of this, like failed, data not received, and a success. For success there is a direct implementation, that is why it is not added to this list. So if we receive a success, overall status as success, as completed, like this one, then it will stop its process. The stop pooling will call, and then that operation will terminate. Otherwise we can click on this cross button. If I click on this cross button, this API will get terminated, the new tab will get closed, and our widget will route to the portal. So right now I'm from localhost, it's a direct launch, so it is not routing anywhere. So that is in local, we do not make it route to anywhere. Okay, but if I will check from the dev, it will route back to whatever callback API returns the value. So there's a callback API getting called. Depending on the issuer, there will be a callback return URL. So this is /profile. So that's where it will route you back. Now getting into the code, let's jump in the launch component first. The most essential code is written at ng or init level. This is the first lifecycle hook of an Angular. So this function calls every time when this component re-renders. So here we are taking the values from the route. We are making decisions here, like which file server is selected. If there is no file server ID, then we need to go to a different mode over there at the UI level. that is also written over here. Since we have a custom refresh application in our application, so that is also done over here only at the engine init level. So let me show you the custom refresh functionality we have. Let me close this tab and try to open a new uh, 113013 and fire server ID as 1. Let me inspect it and start. So network tab is this. So yeah, so the page is launch. You can see there is a launch API getting called. Okay, let me tag it to the header. This is the launch API. Then there is a file server metadata terms and condition and return callback URL getting called, and launch.json is getting called. Accept is getting called. These are the APIs getting called. If I refresh it, so there is a custom functionality where in case of refresh, this launch should not be called again. So if I search it like launch to Apex HR. So launch is called only launch. Sorry, launch yeah, this launch is called only once only. So this is the launch API where are all the input parameters are validated. So it didn't call it again. However, there is a repetition of this call, and this call, and even the accept call. So the main reason of putting this accept call is whatever user is trying to do at the UI, we are sending its status to backend. So it's simply like data exchange action status, action type, and action status. So there is a model here in which we define those action type and action status. So where is the action type? Action. Okay, yeah, this one is there. So action type is what kind of action getting performed in the UI. So in the code comments, you will find which status we set from the UI, and the status is like if we are doing a smart app launch and it's the initialized phase, so we will send 1. If it get completed, we will send 6. Terms and condition viewed as 2, and if it is completed, it is sent as 6. So if you see, we are sending some kind of these values only. Action type 13 and the status is 3 for this action. So I believe this is for the refresh. 13 is for the refresh. Yes, user initiated refresh. So this is how our backend get to know that what action user is performing. So far, any questions? Like any doubts?
No.
Okay. This action ledger API is getting called on every page. Okay, so this time we are at Humana. So let me complete the process and show you the stopping case and all. So once you checkbox, click on both the checkbox and hit the next. So there is a terms and condition completed. Like this is how we send. So third is the terms and condition, and it is in process. Like yeah, so the process got in process. So user has accepted something like that. Now if I click on Humana, so there will be a port tab opening, and over here we are getting the pending OAuth status. We got a pending OAuth status. So let me just click on login. So it's logging in. So you will still, all these messages are coming from the backend. So if you see any of this and preview the response, so there is a user interface element. There's a JSON tag, and in which you will find body text, button text, footer text, header text, shows snipper, so it's a loading symbol, and shows success message, so false. Right now it is all false. So yeah, if I click on allow and then wait for a minute, this tab will get automatically closed, and that condition is also written over there for the closure of this tab, so that the user need not to close the tab explicitly by itself. So there is a callback API getting called, API primary. So we can see here it's a dev callback API. Not sure like how stable right now dev is. Let's just check. Okay. I think it got hung up because of something. Yeah, it is hanged. No worries. If it is behaving like this over in my local, it will behave the same in the for the dev environment, because in actual we are calling the dev APIs, not the local server APIs. So it's cool. So right now status is still in progress. So yeah, it got busted. I believe the API got busted. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it got filled. It got filled here. It got filled. Over here also process stopped. Yeah, so it's now it. So once the anything goes bad here, it went to a fallback page. That is our error page. So this is our fallback page. So this is where we do. From coding, you can see function names are quite meaningful. You can go through all. So, and this host listener, these are all the code comments are provided, so there won't be any issue in getting to know the code. So we have a browser back handling as a custom event. We have a browser refresh handling as a custom event at the launch component. So, or in case of finish import, there is also custom events happening for the refresh and the browser back. And there is also an